Back in my earlier life, I didn't care about people experiencing homelessness. I was the guy that would drive in the car and I'd get to a stop sign and I'd look at somebody experiencing homelessness and I thought to myself, just get a job.
But one day everything changed.
We saw a gentleman laying flat down and we looked at each other at the same time and we said, we have to stop. So I pulled my car into the parking lot. I got my phone out, ready to call 911. Got out of the vehicle, went up to the gentleman, put my hand on his shoulder, and just tried to move him to make sure see what was going on. And he looked up at me with the saddest eyes I've ever seen on any human being ever. And I've worked, like I said, foster care. And he said, I've really blanked my life up. And that's all he said to me. NIMBYism is the greatest threat to addressing the issue of homelessness. It's not money. When you want to put a program out there, the NIMBYs come out of the woodwork and they say that it's going to ruin their property values. They're going to hurt our children. They're not a person experiencing homelessness. But there's a lot of fear that gets drummed up around that.
Whenever somebody runs for office in this state, almost everyone talks about how they're going to solve homelessness issue. But it seems like they can't do it.
There are two types of politicians. There are politicians in the job to do the job, and there are politicians in the job to keep the job.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do something about homelessness, but they don't want to do it in their backyard.
All right. Well, Keith, I really want to sincerely thank you for coming on. I was looking forward to this conversation. As I did more research about you and the Gathering Inn, kind of realized the important work that you guys are doing. You know, this issue is sort of affects everyone, but most of us kind of, rely on other people to handle the homelessness problem or anything that has to do with giving attention or care to those kind of people. I also looked at some stats specifically when it comes to California. So, for example, California has the largest homeless population in the U.S. Says 28% of the nation's total.
Mm-hmm.
And roughly 70% of the population, the homeless population, is living out on the streets.
Yeah, unsheltered. Yeah.
And all of this is despite the billions of dollars that have been spent by the government to fix this problem or somehow try to mitigate it. Did I miss anything? Am I wrong?
No, you're correct. Yeah, you're correct. Those stats are accurate. And actually, it went up in California about 12% from last year.
12%.
Yeah, nationally it went up 18%.
So when people think about homeless population or homeless people, we're not just talking about the homes are so unaffordable that some people just can't afford to buy a house. What exactly is homelessness?
Yeah, it's a great question. And by the way, thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk and to educate people about the issue. A lot of people think they know a lot of things about people experiencing homelessness, and it's always a pleasure to come out and speak to the issue and help people understand. So the etiology of homelessness is basically like, where did people experiencing homelessness come from? How do they fall into homelessness? And there's a lot of different gateways into homelessness. Some can be economic, just simply lose a job, bad circumstances, a big bill that you didn't expect, perhaps a medical bill, some of those types of things. Some of it is mental health. There's a lot of untreated mental health that is out there in the community, and we can go all the way back to when Ronald Reagan was president, and we had about 1 million beds that were federally funded for people experiencing severe mental health issues. And we have maybe 1/10 of that right now. And yet our population in the United States has grown by a factor of 30%. So there's not the beds to help people in an inpatient basis. You've got addiction issues that play a role in it. You've got people that are exiting our juvenile justice system that are on parole, that it's hard to get a job when you get out. So you've got high numbers there of people on probation that end up experiencing homelessness. You've got kids coming out of foster care and they don't have connections. So you've got 10 to 15% of the population that people experiencing homelessness have been formerly in the foster care system. So there's a lot of reasons why people can fall into homelessness. Housing is an issue. Housing, not having enough affordable housing is an issue, but it's not the only issue. And I like to say that homelessness is a complex issue, but it's not complicated, meaning that there's a lot of factors that go into it, but it's not complicated in that we do know what works for people experiencing homelessness. And that's where the Gathering Inn comes in with the programs that we provide in the greater Sacramento region. I'm sure we'll get more opportunity to talk about exactly what those programs are.
Absolutely, yeah. So are there any statistics that you know of the percentage of people who, let's say, end up in a situation where they are homeless, but then somehow they get out of homelessness?
Oh, sure. I mean, we can just look at I'm most familiar with what we do at the Gathering Inn. So we pride ourselves at the Gathering Inn as trying to be a best-in-class organization, meaning that people that are experiencing homelessness, what we produce as the Gathering Inn is getting people into sustainable housing. And that's part of our mission statement. Our mission statement at the Gathering Inn is to meet people where they are, inspire hope, and walk alongside them on their journey to sustainable housing. We're not carrying them. It's a partnership, right? So up in our Auburn programs, for example, just recently, 40% of the people that we've worked with have gotten into sustainable housing. And we're talking about people that have been chronically homeless for years and years and years. So that statistic is pretty strong nationally. Four out of 10, which when you're looking at people that have been on the streets for a long, long time, that is a very good statistic of people getting into sustainable housing.
It is. And for those people who don't know, what exactly is sustainable?
So when I say sustainable housing, you're in a place of your own and you're paying rent, or there's some arrangement where you're paying money, rent or whatever, and you're able to maintain that on your own. And so you've got income from, it could be income from SSI, Social Security. It could be income from other mainstream benefits that you're entitled to. Maybe you're a veteran and you have veteran benefits. It could be from work, but you have the money and the income to sustain your housing.
Okay, I see. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Gathering Inn.
Okay.
How it originated.
Sure.
And also, like, how is it sustained? Who helps?
Great question. Started on November 15th of 2004 by a man by the name of Bill Boudier. And he was a person in Placer County that saw that there was an unmet need. There were no shelters really to speak of in Placer County at the time. And he got together with 13 pastors in Placer County to offer a winter-only shelter sanctuary for people experiencing homelessness. So on that day, on November 14th of 2005, they loaded up people experiencing homelessness on the parking lot of St. Vincent de Paul, and they went to their first church. And it's called a nomadic model because the individuals would stay in a different church every night to have shelter and a meal. But then the next morning, there was nowhere for them to go, so they would go back out onto the streets. But that's how the Gathering Inn got started back in 2004. In 2007, the Gathering Inn was able to purchase its own building in downtown Roseville. So now that program is year-round, and it has case management, mental health treatment, addiction treatment. It's got workforce development, job training skills, all of those things. But back then in 2004, it was just serving about 40 people just for about three months out of the year.
So, and how many people is the Gathering Inn serving right now?
About 500.
500 people?
Yeah. We have 14 different physical locations, both in Placer County and Sacramento County, including the city of Elk Grove. So we serve about 500 people every night now in those programs. And we run three main types of programs. We do emergency shelter at the Gathering Inn. We do permanent supportive housing, where people actually pay rent to be in our program.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also do a program called medical respite. And that's a very unique program that the Gathering Inn runs. We partner with local healthcare providers. So if you go into the hospital and upon discharge, you're experiencing homelessness, where do you go? You're too well to continue to be in the hospital, but you're too sick to recover on the street. We're talking cancer diagnoses, heart attacks, diabetes, limb amputations. I mean, pretty significant health issues,
Mm-hmm.
physical health issues. Where do you go? So the Gathering Inn runs a nationally certified medical respite program right here in Placer County.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And who are the people who are treating these people?
So we have staff, including nursing staff, that make sure that when people come into our medical respite program at the Gathering Inn, they're able to continue with their primary doctor. They're able to continue to take their medication. They're able to go to their doctor's appointment, while we also then work with case management to find them a location to be, sustainable housing location to be when they're discharged. Back in 2004, right at about 89% of the people that we served in that program when they were discharged got into some sort of sustainable housing situation.
Wow. And are these people volunteers who help, or
Oh, no, staff. We have
staff.
about 150 staff at the
Okay.
Gathering Inn now.
Okay, so how did you get involved with the Gathering Inn?
Back in my earlier life, I didn't care about people experiencing homelessness. I was the guy that would drive in the car and I'd get to a stop sign and I'd look at somebody experiencing homelessness and I thought to myself, just get a job. I wouldn't roll my window down and say it, but I thought it. And then I had an experience, my wife and I, one hot August day back in 2014, where I was driving my car from Roseville into Sacramento. My wife was with me. Very hot day, over 100 degrees. And there is something that you see on Watt Avenue driving from Roseville to Sacramento, and you see more and more people experiencing homelessness the more you get into Sacramento. Sacramento has about 8 to 10 times as many people experiencing homelessness in Placer County. So on that August day, we were driving the vehicle, and out of the right corner of both of our eyes at the same time, we saw an individual, a gentleman laying flat down, face down on the Jim Boy's taco parking lot in a hot August day on blacktop, and he wasn't moving. And we looked at each other at the same time, and we said, we have to stop. So I pulled my car into the parking lot. I got my phone out, ready to call 911, got out of the vehicle, went up to the gentleman, and I had been working foster care in my prior life, so I've seen a lot of tragic situations, right? I got up to his back, put my hand on his shoulder, and just tried to move him to make sure see what was going on. And he looked up at me with the saddest eyes I've ever seen on any human being ever. And I've worked, like I said, foster care. And he said, I've really blanked my life up. And that's all he said to me. And I was able to get him up. I was able to get him into the Jim Boy's establishment, called 911, got him something, paramedics came, etc. But I never went to another stop sign thinking what I thought before, because I actually met somebody experiencing homelessness and it brought out a compassion to me, right? 6 months later, I get a call. and it's from Father Cliff Hagenjos, who runs St. John's Episcopal Church in Roseville. And he told me about an opportunity at the Gathering Inn. And I asked him, well, what's the Gathering Inn? And he said, well, it's a program that works with people experiencing homelessness. And I just looked up to God and I said, yep, that about makes sense. Because I would have never taken that opportunity at a job had I not had that prior experience, because I didn't have any empathy prior to that. So that's how I ended up at the Gathering.
Wow, that's such a great story.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people, when they see a homeless person, and I used to be this way too, I would think, oh, this is a drug addict or an alcoholic, but then as I started thinking, like, there is a soul in there. And few years back, not too long ago, this person was born. It was he or she was a little baby. Maybe parents were excited for the future of this baby, right? So we only see that person the way they are, and it's just the outside, but in there is a soul. And it's like, when you think from that perspective, it changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. When people look at people experiencing homelessness, a lot of it, they see things only skin deep. And there's a song out by a country artist called Skin Deep. His name is Ryan Griffin. And he did one of the soundtracks on a movie called No Address. And I was a production consultant on that. And the movie is about homelessness, right? And you can go on streaming and everything to see it. And he talks about the whole skin deep, like the superficial looking at, the not understanding, that was somebody's child. And now could be your mother, brother, sister, cousin, friend. I mean, homelessness can happen to anybody. When I give speeches out in the community, one of the things I'll typically say to a group is, what did you want to be when you were growing up as a teenager? What were your aspirations? And somebody say, well, I wanted to be a doctor. And I'd say, well, what are you now? Well, I'm in landscaping or whatever it is, right? I've never met anybody that I had a conversation with on what did you want to be when you grew up as a teenager, and they said to me, you know what? I wanted to be somebody experiencing homelessness for a career choice. And nobody does that, but situations happen, right? And some of those are preventable, some of those are not. But now they're now at our door here at the Gathering Inn. So we're going to meet you where you are. We're not going to judge you for where you're at, because that doesn't do any good to judge people. Meet people where they are. Let's work together. Let's get you thinking about the future in a hopeful way. And let's work together to get you from homelessness into sustainable housing. And we have a lot of different things that we do at the Gathering Inn to do that. But the first part of it is understanding that. And this is where people in the community, there are some in the community, they think they're better than. They think that it can never happen to them. Therefore, they think that these people experiencing homelessness are less than, maybe even less than human, not as good as me. Like, that could never happen to me. And I used to feel that way. I used to be that guy. And I had my experience. And it's like, how can we get people to move past that judgment and to meet people where they are and understand, like you were talking about, that was somebody's child at some point in time that had hopes, aspirations, dreams. And those hopes and aspirations and dreams are still in there. And our job at the Gathering Inn is to get them out of there so they can be productive. Yeah.
So for someone who has compassion for the people who experience homelessness, how do you deal with things that have controversy? Like, there's out there local people or even local government. I recently watched a little short clip about some issue with with Lincoln.
The medical respite program.
Yeah, like how do you deal with that when you encounter controversy or just people who are they don't understand, they don't see the way you see?
Yeah, that's interesting, and, you can attribute that to almost anything in life, right? But, first of it is what I try to do, or what the Gathering Inn tries to do, is educate people, because sometimes a position comes from a lack of understanding, right? So if we can help educate people as to what medical respite really is, that can be helpful for some people. Um, some people are more closed to the issue, so it takes more education and it takes more conversation. But it is a very difficult issue right now with the city of Lincoln, and there's a lot of misinformation out there that's coming from some groups out there. It's going to be 100-bed low barrier shelter, and there's going to be drug use, and you're not licensed, so you can't run the program. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And what we're trying to do as the Gathering Inn is educate people as to what the program really is and what the program really does. For example, our medical respite program, average age of the person coming in is 60 years old. These aren't your 25, 30-year-old folks coming in that are high on meth or fentanyl or that. These are older adults with physical issues referred by local medical professionals. It's not a walk-in. You just can't walk into the door. You have to be referred by a medical professional for a pretty significant physical issue that you're dealing with. And I guess the choice we have as a community here in Placer County is, where do you want these folks to get better from their hospital stay? Do you want them to get better on the street, which they're just going to go back into the hospital, and they're going to take your emergency room bed? They're going to take your bed at the hospital. There's a lot of positive things that Gathering Inn's medical respite program does, and we're looking forward to opening it hopefully soon. You probably know the city of Lincoln has sued the Gathering Inn to try to get us to stop. We're not going anywhere. The Attorney General from the state of California is in our camp and has filed briefs in support of us. This program will open, and it's just a matter of when it's going to open, and we're looking forward to it opening to serve people here in the community that need it.
Wow. That's amazing that you guys are in this fight and you're not letting something like that just derail you.
Yeah. Do you want to know why it hasn't derailed us? There's two reasons why. One, our mission, that we're entrusted to serve folks experiencing homelessness. But two, we have an amazing attorney out of the Bay Area that has donated $1 million of his time pro bono to defend us. And he said he'll do another $1 million if he has to, because it's a righteous cause. And if we didn't have our attorney, it probably would have stopped us, because Gathering Inn doesn't have that $1 million just laying around, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I checked. The Gathering Inn has its vision is a community without homelessness.
Correct.
Do you really believe that it's possible?
It's a lofty vision, but it grounds us. The flip side of that is there are so many people experiencing homelessness. Why bother, right? That's the antidote. That's the antithesis of that vision statement. And for us at the Gathering Inn, we meet people where they are, one person, one family at a time. And it's just like that starfish analogy that washes up on shore. Well, there's just so many, but yeah, I made a difference for that one, right? And that's what we do. And can we get close to that? Can we reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness in our community? Absolutely. That's our vision. That's what we strive to do.
So earlier you said that the a year from today, a year back, there was a jump in the number of people experiencing homelessness. Uh, does when you hear that, does that sound like this? Is that discouraging to you? And is there a reason that there was such jump?
Yeah. So in the state of California, there was an increase, and nationally, there was about an 18% increase. But here in Placer County, there's actually a slight decrease last year, and it's remained pretty flat. So Placer County has I think, fourth lowest rate of homelessness in California, and we're the best here in Placer County in Northern California on keeping our levels of people experiencing homelessness and making an impact. And the Gathering Inn's a big part of that because we run 3 of the shelters here in Placer County. We run permanent supportive housing. We run medical respite. So the Gathering Inn here in Placer County is making a real difference in keeping those numbers level. They haven't been going up in Placer County. And a big part of that is our partnership with Placer County itself, the government of Placer County, as well as some of the cities here in Placer County as well, and our healthcare partners.
So when we're talking about different solutions for people, obviously there's the short-term solutions, right? Like providing some kind of assistance, immediate assistance. But can you highlight some of the things that are more long-term solutions?
Sure. So there's 2 ways to address the issue of homelessness. You can work on what I call the antecedent, or the conditions prior to somebody becoming homeless. And then you can work on the consequence, somebody ended up becoming homeless. So the Gathering Inn works on both. So on the front end, the best way to address homelessness is to keep people from falling into homelessness to begin with.
Okay.
Right? So the Gathering Inn has what we call rapid rehousing money, help people that may be in a short-term economic situation. Their car breaks down. They live paycheck to paycheck. They've got to now make a decision between the job and the rent and food. So we do provide assistance throughout Placer County on rapid rehousing, not rapid rehousing, on prevention, homeless prevention dollars. And then on the backside is all the programs that I just talked to you about, our shelters, our permanent supportive housing, our medical respite, meeting people where they are, meeting with a case manager and say, okay, let's say you're experiencing homelessness. Let's talk why is that for you? And then how can we work together, Gathering Inn and you, to get you to this point where we want you in sustainable housing?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for you? For you, it might be, I need mental health treatment, or I've had mental health treatment, but I can't afford my prescriptions, and that medicine really helps me, but I can't afford that. So for you, it could be that connection. For another person, it could be, I'm addicted to drugs, and I haven't been able to get off of the drugs. So could you help me with that? For some people, it's, I've got a mental health issue and I medicate myself to deal with it. Or some people could be all 3, or another person could be, I just got out of jail. I have no job. I have nowhere to go. So it could be a myriad of different issues. What we try to do at the Gathering Inn with our case management and staff is figure out what that is for you, and then what is a plan over the next 3 to 6 months to get you to the point where you can get into some sort of a housing situation.
Well, that's so important to take care of this before it gets to actually someone becoming homeless. I think that if there's some kind of things that you can find, some trigger points, something that you can be caught before.
Yes, absolutely. It's a lot less costly.
Yes.
To catch it on the front end versus the back end, for sure.
So a little bit about the Gathering Inn as an organization. How do you guys get financing?
Oh, good question. So 3 main buckets of funding. There's government funding. It could be the state of California, federally, it could be Placer County, it could be the city of Roseville, for example. So there's government bucket. There is a private bucket, which is philanthropy. It could be you donating $5. It could be a foundation like the Dwelly Foundation that donates money, but it's private philanthropy. It's individuals, it's businesses, it's foundations that give of their own funding. So it comes from private sources. And then our last bucket is healthcare. So it could be our healthcare partners. It could be Sutter or Kaiser or the state of California through Medicaid or Medi-Cal. So there's those three main buckets. The Gathering In's breakdown, about 65% of our money is government. About 20% or so is philanthropy. And then about 15%, hopefully my math is correct, I think it is, about 15% is healthcare.
Okay.
Yeah. And our budget's about $15 million right now. And back in 2015, it was $750,000. So we've grown quite a bit. Yeah, we've grown quite a bit.
And I know you guys have a board of directors.
We do.
How does that work? Do you guys decide on certain programs, how much to allocate? Who makes these decisions?
Yeah, so the board of directors is ultimately responsible for the Gathering In. And they hire one person. They hire the president and CEO, which is me currently. And then they charge me to run the program internally and to execute on the strategic plan that the board has approved. So we have a strategic plan that goes through 2028. And so that's kind of my blueprint of what the board wants me to do. So the day-to-day stuff I run, but for any like consequential decision, for example, a new contract with the city of Sacramento, the board needs to approve that. Medical respite expansion that went into Lincoln, the board had to approve that. So the board approves like the general direction, big contracts, and then they enable me to run the day-to-day operations.
Okay.
Yeah.
People learn a lot through stories, and I wanted to ask you this question. Can you remember one or maybe two stories that you can tell about? I'm talking about a positive story in your experience dealing with people who are experiencing homelessness, where it's an inspiring story. It's a story that people can really, when they hear it, they can see the result of the great work that you guys do.
Yeah. One of the best things is to go to our website at the Gathering In because we have tons of stories as it relates to people moving from homelessness into sustainable housing. I mean, a mother of two that was drug addicted that's now on the streets and has been sleeping in bushes and hedges and all those kinds of things. And the moment that changed her life was at 3 a.m. The sprinklers came on and she got all wet. And she decided, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do it anymore. And ends up at the door of the Gathering In. Or the major league baseball player who was a pitcher and throws his shoulder out and gets addicted to painkillers and then sits outside his car of the Gathering in Roseville, and he's got his last jar of peanut butter that he's eating out of, and he's got no more money, and he finally gets the courage to walk in and ends up working for the Gathering In. So it's like homelessness can happen and that's the thing that I call it's the NIMBY crowd, not my backyard,
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do something about homelessness, but they don't want to do it in their backyard. NIMBYism issue, and it comes from ignorance, and it comes from self-serving, and it comes from, lack of being able to stand up for what you know is right. There's a lot of issues that go into it, right? But NIMBYism is the greatest threat to addressing the issue of homelessness. It's not money. There's enough money The biggest issue is, where do you put the program? And the minute a good friend of mine, Dr. Robert Marbut, who was Trump's homeless czar in his first administration, cited over 3,000 programs nationwide. And he said, I only lost one program to lack of money, but I lost hundreds upon hundreds of them to NIMBYism. And it's just that, and we're battling that, in our Lincoln project right now, but we'll get through it. And you know what? The minute the program opens in 6 months, they won't even know we're there. There won't be any problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at whenever somebody runs for office in this state, almost everyone talks about how they're going to solve the homelessness issue. But it seems like they can't do it. Do you know what is the reason why they say that they want to solve it and they can? Is it because just the big government is not the solution to tackle these kind of issues, and it should be dealt with, like with organizations like the Gathering in the private sector, or what is it? There's a lot of corruption or just incapable people?
There's a lot of different ways to answer that. Here in Placer County, particularly at the Board of Supervisors, you have principled leaders that are willing to make those tough decisions, to provide the programming and the resources necessary to address this issue. So in Placer County, we're pretty fortunate in that regards. A mentor of mine once told me there are two types of politicians. There are politicians in the job to do the job, and there are politicians in the job to keep the job. So when you first get elected, every politician is in the job to do the job because they're not in the job yet. So they think, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go do something about this issue or the next issue. And then specifically regarding the issue of homelessness, there's a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of fear. So that when you want to put a program out there, the NIMBYs come out of the woodwork and they say that it's going to ruin their property values, and there's no data to support that nationally that I've seen. They're going to hurt our children. No, the research shows that 90% of the people that abuse children are a family member or a close family friend. They're not a person experiencing homelessness, but there's a lot of fear that gets drummed up around that. So that if you're a politician and you get a bunch of people showing up at your council meeting, sometimes you then end up being the politician that wants to keep the job versus do the job. And that's just my personal opinion.
Well, that's very, very well put. I think that's right on point. I agree with you on that. So when you are working with people experiencing homelessness, you have to sort of balance the compassion that you have towards them, but at the same time, maybe some kind of accountability.
Sure.
How do you do that?
Yeah. What a great question. Our mission statement: to meet people where they are, so not to judge, because think about it, if you were experiencing homelessness and you're coming to the door of the Gathering Inn, you would have exhausted every single family member, friend, acquaintance that you could stay at prior to coming to our door, right? So you come to our door, the last thing you need is somebody to be judgmental or think that we're better than you, right? But then you need a big dose of what? You need a big dose of hope. Like, how can things possibly get better? That's where we have highly trained staff. We have clinicians, mental health, substance abuse, great case managers to build a relationship with you so you can see, as a person experiencing homelessness, that things can get better. And then the last part of our mission statement is to walk alongside, not to carry you. And this is why I'm getting to your point. Accountability and compassion at the Gathering Inn go hand in hand, because we're going to hold you accountable while being compassionate at the same time. We're not going to do it all for you. We're going to walk alongside you, but we don't expect you to do it all either. It's a partnership. And where are we going together? We're going so you can have sustainable housing somewhere. So that's the accountability with compassion. We hold you accountable. We have rules in the programs. We have certain expectations for you, but you experiencing homelessness have expectations of us at the Gathering Inn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that partnership, and we need to be accountable to each other and compassionate to each other to make it all work.
Earlier, Keith, you told a story about how you got inspired.
Uh-huh.
Right now, we're living in an interesting time where I guess it's some people call it the me generation.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Everybody kind of has their own life, their own bubble. What are some of the ways that you find effective to inspire and motivate others to kind of look this way and maybe be a little curious about homelessness?
Yeah. I think you've had excellent questions today. I really appreciate that. Getting our message out there of success is very helpful. Some people like data and numbers, the qualitative people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So they're driven by, we got 40% of the people into sustainable housing in this period of time in this program. Or how about this statistic? Over 90% of the people that the Gathering Inn is able to partner and get people into sustainable housing are still in that housing after 1 year. That's a pretty good statistic, 9 out of 10. These are people that weren't in sustainable housing for 5-10 years prior to that. So to some people, that speaks to them.
Mm-hmm.
To other people, it's the stories, right? That sustains me. The being able to advocate for I call them the least lost and last in our society. People that don't have a voice for themselves. And luckily, we have people that agree with us.
For those who encounter a person experiencing homelessness, how would you recommend they approach this person and talk to them? Because not everyone knows how to.
Well, sure. The first thing I do is counsel people is, first of all, when you're walking by somebody, look at them. You'll be surprised, of what that little thing can do. Because most of the time, people experiencing homelessness will tell me, we feel invisible. People will walk on the other side of the street to avoid them. Then the other thing that just is a game changer for people is just say hello. It shocks a lot of people on the street experiencing homelessness, and somebody will look down them and say hello. I've had great results with that. And then I strike up a conversation. Now I'm in, this line of work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've got obviously somebody that's, being physically aggressive or yelling or screaming, I wouldn't recommend walking up to a person like that on the street, whether they're experiencing homelessness or not, right?
Sure.
So you have to have some safety around that. But just acknowledging people can go a very long way. I was involved with a documentary called Americans with No Address.
By the way, I was going to ask you that question.
I was a production consultant for that. And there's James is at the end of the documentary, and he's working in a program, I believe, somewhere on the East Coast. I can't exactly remember which one it was. Maybe in New York. And James talks about an encounter that he had on a train that changed his life. And he was sleeping on a train, and it might have been 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, and a lady came up to him and looked at him and I think handed him a card and said, "You can do better than this." And he did. He got up and he went to a program and changed his life just because that one lady went up to him and said, "You can do better than this," and handed him a card. Sometimes that's all it takes to make a difference in somebody's life. Like, help them be seen. You know, what I wouldn't recommend is, like, if you want to help more substantially than that, let's say with food or clothing or money, my suggestion, don't hand it directly to a person experiencing homelessness. If you want to make a difference, give it to an organization. Give it to the Salvation Army. Give it to Volunteers of America. Give it to Advocates for Mentally Ill Housing up here in Auburn. Give it to the Gathering Inn. Like, give it to a program that works with people experiencing homelessness. We know what we're doing, and we can use the support. Don't just hand it out on the street.
Well, that's the main reason why I think less and less people are helping people out there on the streets, because like I've heard so many stories where somebody would come up and they said, "I'm hungry, I'm starving, or I'm thirsty, I really need to go get some food." They would give them a $20 bill and then watch that person go into a liquor store and walk out with a a 6-pack or a vodka or whatever, right? So it's like, and I hear more and more stories like that.
Yeah, I'll give you an analogy. You're going to have a heart procedure because you have a problem. So you're going to go to a doctor that's licensed to do that. You're not going to go to your garage mechanic to do your heart procedure, right? If you want to help people experiencing homelessness, don't do it on your own. Volunteer at a program. Give food to a program like the Gathering Inn. We have an Adopt a Meal program. You can come up and cook food if that's your thing, right? You can donate clothes. You could cut a check. You can have interactions with people in an environment where you'll make a difference and you won't add to the problem.
So the Gathering Inn program in Auburn, how has the local community been towards the Gathering Inn in Auburn?
Just fantastic. We've got great organizations. The county, for one, is a great partner with the Gathering Inn. Placer People of Faith Together is a great partner. We have an Adopt a Meal program where we have over, I forget how many groups, 40, 50 groups that come in to our mobile temporary kitchen, and they can cook a meal and also serve it. We get great support from the Auburn community for our program.
Yeah, we were actually there because I belong to Auburn Rotary.
Oh yeah,
and so we had last year we were doing the
step-up
annual
beds
barbecue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did that too.
So we were in that kitchen, and we were there with our kids. I have a 12-year-old son, an 11-year-old son, and a 7-year-old daughter. And we were out there. They were helping out, and we also had a conversation with them about some of the people that they saw over there. And it was a really interesting moment because they really listened. They were never in an area like that. And to hear, how some people end up being there, it was, especially watching my son's eyes as I was talking to him. It was like he was listening very, very carefully.
You're a good dad for doing that, because you're teaching your son compassion, you're teaching your son accountability, you're teaching your son that, there are things in life that can go bad, but that there are people who are willing to help, right?
Well, we try, and for me, it's at the top of my priorities right now is to not just talk to them, teach them by just saying things, but actually living a life that is worthy for them to take example from. We're trying.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. As we kind of wrap up, do you have any goals for the Gathering Inn for, like, let's say 5 years, 10 years into the future?
So our strategic plan, we have 4 main goals that we're working on. One is to be best in class in our programming. So, like, to get the best outcomes that we can for the people that we serve. We call them guests, by the way, not clients, because we're privileged to have them as a guest in our program. The second thing is we want to expand geographically, so going into different communities and different counties. The third thing is we want to have a strong internal team to support all of that. And then the fourth thing is we want to communicate the good work that we do. So those are our 4 strategic goals. I think in the next couple of years, we'll probably grow another $5 million, serve another 200 or 300 people a day, because the need is out there. And I think that we are a best-in-class organization, and I think that we do a really good job. And I think our outcomes show that. Our stories of redemption show that at the Gathering Inn. And we're looking forward to the next 3 to 5 years of bringing all of those things to the greater Sacramento region and to change more lives for the better.
That's amazing. And if some people want to learn more about the Gathering Inn, if they want to help out in whatever way that they can, how do they find you guys?
Yeah, the easiest way is to go to our website, thegatheringinn.com. You can go on our Facebook page, The Gathering Inn. You can go on our Instagram. I think we're on LinkedIn. You can just give us a call and say, hey, put us on your mailing list. We've got thousands upon thousands of people on our mailing list, so we send out newsletters. Every community that we're in, we do quarterly community meetings that we answer questions from people in the community. We do monthly impact reports that we send out to folks in the community. We talk about statistics, but then we talk about stories. But yeah, get involved with the Gathering Inn. Probably the easiest way is just go to our website, and there's a how you can help, little button that everybody has. And we've got a great volunteer program. Like I said, you could come up and cook a meal in our adopted meal program. You could volunteer at one of our shelters, maybe in our clothes closet. And then one of the great things is you could cut a check.
You guys do any special programs like for Christmas or Thanksgiving?
We do some things, but I'm a big fan of people that are committed throughout the year too. But we do things around the holidays. We get a lot more volunteers. I think the best thing that I would say to somebody that wants to volunteer and really make a difference, do it in July. Do it in August. Do it in September. Do it in May. We got plenty of people beating down our doors for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I love them. And don't get me wrong, very, very helpful. We love the donations. We love the support. But the other times of the year are just as critical too.
But that's very good that you're saying this, because I didn't know that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because we run year-round programs. We have people, upwards of 500 people, 365 days a year, every hour of the day. So we could use the help.
And I'll make sure that we post all the links on the video so that people can just click on them. Yeah. Well, Keith, I want to thank you again.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It was an honor and a privilege to have you on and talk to you. Thank you so much.
Has it been an hour already?
The countdown is right there. So
good. Very I didn't go over, though. That's good.
So, I just want to just thank you again for all the great work that you do, the Gathering Inn does. I think it's super, super important. And
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you've made it this far and want to support what we're doing, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are committed to making each episode better than the last. If you like this video, here's another one for you to watch. I'll see you in the next one.